Picture a Friday night in 1990. Millions of American families gathered around their television sets, laughing at the Winslows, groaning at Steve Urkel and feeling, for 22 minutes, that the world was a manageable, loving place. What they did not see was the other story. The one playing out in hospital rooms, courtrooms, and quiet apartments where the laughter had long since faded. Family Matters ran for 9 seasons and left behind a cast whose real lives were more dramatic, more painful, and in many cases more courageous than anything the writers ever put on the page. Here is where fate took them. Rosetta LeNoire played Mother Estelle Winslow with a tenderness that made her feel less like a television character and more like someone's actual grandmother. Born in New York on August 8, 1911, she was already a pioneer before the show existed. At a time when Broadway offered black actresses almost nothing, she built a career through relentless determination, eventually founding the Ama's Musical Theater, an integrated company built on the radical idea that everyone belonged on stage. She joined the Family Matters cast at 78 years old, and every scene she played carried the quiet authority of a woman who had already survived everything. Diabetes slowly took her sight and her mobility in her final years, a cruel fate for someone who had spent a lifetime in the light. She passed away on March 17, 2002, at 90 years old. Her estimated net worth of $3 million reflected decades of investment in the theater she loved, but her real legacy was the path she cleared for those who came after her. Reginald VelJohnson gave Carl Winslow a gravity that few sitcom fathers have matched. He had already made his mark in Hollywood before the show. His portrayal of Sergeant Al Powell in Die Hard in 1988 showed audiences a man capable of warmth and moral steadiness in high-pressure moments. That same quality carried directly into Carl. Over 9 seasons and more than 200 episodes, he became one of television's most recognizable father figures. But the role became a cage. Hollywood could not see past the badge and the polo shirts, and meaningful roles after the show ended were frustratingly scarce. He also battled diabetes and weight-related health challenges in private, preferring silence over sympathy. Today at 73, VelJohnson lives quietly, supported by California real estate holdings and fan convention appearances. His net worth is estimated at $5 million, and the affection audiences carry for Carl Winslow has never dimmed. JoMarie Payton was the backbone of the Winslow household as Harriet, the mother who balanced discipline and devotion with remarkable consistency across 8 seasons. Born in Albany, Georgia in 1950, she had spent years building her craft on stage and in smaller television roles before Family Matters made her a household name. After leaving the series following creative disputes, she proved her range through voice acting, most memorably as Suga Mama in The Proud Family. Her personal life, however, carried persistent heartbreak. 3 marriages, each ending in divorce, left her wary and often lonely. Heart problems and high blood pressure forced her to step away from work more than once. In 2025 at 75, she lives more quietly now, with a net worth of approximately $4 million and her daughter Chantal as her steadiest source of support. Michelle Thomas arrived as Myra Monkhouse in 1993 and immediately became one of the show's most energetic presences. Her portrayal of Steve Urkel's fiercely devoted admirer was full of charisma and comedic instinct. But behind the scenes, she was fighting a battle that had nothing to do with scripts or schedules. Diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of stomach cancer, she continued working through treatment for as long as her body allowed. Actor Malcolm Jamal Warner was by her side through much of her decline. The life she had spoken of openly, marriage, children, a future, was taken from her by illness. On December 23, 1998, she died at 30 years old, just days before Christmas. Her net worth was around $500,000. She left no estate to speak of, only the memory of a young woman who faced the worst with extraordinary grace. Jaleel White was never supposed to come back after his first episode. Steve Urkel was a throwaway character, a one-time joke. Instead, he became the entire show. White was 13 years old when he first put on those suspenders, and his comedic precision, the nasal voice, the physical comedy, the emotional sincerity underneath the absurdity, was the work of a genuinely exceptional performer. The aftermath of that success, however, was punishing. Typecasting followed him everywhere. He appeared in Dancing with the Stars and lent his voice to Sonic the Hedgehog in animated series throughout the 90s, but the dramatic roles that could have expanded his career stayed out of reach. A custody dispute with his ex-girlfriend Bridget Hardy over their daughter Samaya became a prolonged and painful public battle. He has spoken honestly about depression and the psychological cost of being permanently defined by a character he created as a child. In 2025 at 48, He lives in Los Angeles with an estimated net worth of $10 million, built carefully over decades of syndication royalties and steady work. Kellie Shanygne Williams grew up on screen as Laura Winslow, the sharp, principled daughter who often served as the show's moral compass. She was 13 when the series began, and by the time it ended, she had spent nearly a decade of her life inside that character. When Family Matters concluded, Hollywood offered almost nothing in return. Years of rejection fed anxiety, depression, and the kind of self-doubt that accumulates quietly until it becomes difficult to ignore. She found stability through marriage to Hannibal Jackson and eventually made a deliberate choice to step away from the industry. Now 49 and living in Maryland, she focuses on family and community. Her net worth is around $2 million. Her departure from Hollywood does not read as a loss. It reads as a decision made by someone who knew what mattered more. Darius McCrary played Eddie Winslow's reckless charm across 9 seasons, joining the cast at just 13 years old. His personal life after the show was defined by turbulence. His marriage to Tammy Bronner ended in allegations of abuse and a restraining order, and a bitter custody battle over his daughter Zoe consumed years of his energy and resources. Financial collapse followed, with bankruptcy marking the distance between the life he had once lived and the one he was trying to hold together. In 2025 at 49, he continues to take small acting roles, with a net worth estimated at $500,000, a figure that reflects not failure of talent but the cost of years spent in crisis. Telma Hopkins joined the cast in 1989 as Rachel Crawford, Harriet's warm and funny younger sister. She was already known to audiences from her years with Tony Orlando and Dawn, where her vocal talent had made her famous. Family Matters gave her acting career its broadest audience. Off-screen, a painful divorce left lasting damage, and tensions with her son, born from the pressures of a demanding schedule, added guilt to an already complicated private life. In 2025 at 77, she remains active in the industry, with a net worth of $3 million built from acting and real estate. Rachel Crawford remains her most enduring television role. Naya Rivera appeared in a tiny role in Family Matters in 1992 at just 5 years old, playing a character named Gwendolyn. That brief moment led nowhere immediately, but it was the beginning of something. A decade later, she found her breakthrough as Santana Lopez on Glee, where her combination of sharp comedy and raw emotional vulnerability made her one of the show's most compelling performers. Her personal life was chaotic. A difficult marriage to actor Ryan Dorsey, struggles with depression, financial pressures that pushed her toward bankruptcy. On July 8, 2020, she drowned in Lake Piru at 33 years old. The circumstances were devastating and, in their own way, deeply revealing of the woman she was. She had used her final strength to push her young son Josie to safety before disappearing beneath the water. Her estimated net worth at the time was $5 million. She is remembered now as much for that last act of love as for everything she created on screen. Sherman Hemsley appeared in a guest role in 1994, playing Captain Savage with the effortless wit that had already made him legendary through The Jeffersons. Born in Philadelphia on February 1, 1938, he never married and kept his private life deliberately closed off from public scrutiny. As lung cancer and high blood pressure advanced, he kept those battles private as well. He died on July 24, 2012 at 74. What followed was a legal dispute over his estate that delayed his funeral for months, with multiple parties contesting inheritance rights. His net worth was approximately $3 million. The controversy that surrounded his farewell felt like a cruel contrast to the joy he had spent a lifetime creating. Bryton James entered the show in 1990 as 4-year-old Richie Crawford and became one of its most enduring child characters across 9 seasons. Born Bryton Eric McClure on August 17, 1986 in Lakewood, California, he lost his father during childhood, a grief he has spoken about in interviews as a weight that never fully lifted. Fame arrived early, but so did loneliness. As an adult, he built a respected second career on The Young and the Restless, winning multiple Daytime Emmy Awards and proving that his early work had been the foundation of something lasting. A brief marriage to actress Ashley Jones in 2017 ended in divorce. In 2025 at 38, he lives quietly in Los Angeles, with a net worth of around $2 million, still searching for the family stability that Richie Crawford always seemed to have but Bryton himself never quite found. Fred Willard appeared as Vice Principal Mallet in 1994 and made every second count, as he always did. Born in Shaker Heights, Ohio in 1933, he built a career on dry wit and impeccable timing, becoming a beloved presence in Christopher Guest's mockumentaries including Best in Show and A Mighty Wind. His personal life in later years carried real pain. A public arrest in 2012 damaged his reputation, and the death of his wife Mary Willard in 2018 after more than 40 years of marriage left his home achingly quiet. He passed away on May 15, 2020, at 86 from natural causes. His net worth was estimated at $5 million. He had lived simply, and audiences choose to remember not the scandal but the laughter, the deadpan delivery, the perfect pause, the ability to make even the smallest role feel essential. Ron Taylor appeared in 1990 as Darnell Coleman, bringing a deep baritone and commanding physical presence to a guest role that was brief but memorable. Born in Galveston, Texas in 1952, he was admired across stage and television for his richness as a performer. A lifelong struggle with weight led to diabetes and high blood pressure, health battles that grew heavier with each passing year. He shared his home life with his wife Deborah Sharp Taylor and their 2 children. On January 16, 2002, he died of a heart attack at just 49 years old. His net worth was approximately $1.5 million. His passing left a gap that those who knew his work still feel. He deserved more time, and the industry deserved more of him. Jaimee Foxworth was 10 years old when she first appeared as Judy Winslow, the youngest Winslow child whose bright-eyed presence helped establish the warmth of the family dynamic. By the 4th season she was simply gone, written out without explanation, without a farewell, without the dignity the character or the actress deserved. That erasure at such a vulnerable age opened a wound that would take years to close. Without steady work and amid financial collapse at home, she made decisions that would follow her permanently. She has since spoken about that period with honesty and courage. The addiction, the adult film work, the long process of rebuilding a sense of self from the wreckage of a childhood interrupted by fame and then abandoned by it. In 2025 at 45, she lives quietly, focused on her son and her community, with a net worth of around $50,000. What she has built is not a career recovery. It is something harder and more important. A life reclaimed on her own terms. Family Matters asked its audience to believe in something simple.